Good first touch, even better second touch! The birthday boy is struck on his full MLS debut! Well done. Very good delivery towards the far post. The Sounders are level. Ladero, the ball played in. The power was scripted. Ruidiaz on the double. But they've taken the lead late. What an incredible day of MLS action.
Dun, 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 dun. Raul, man, the topic of the day, the topic of the week. We're also going to have Keith Costigan and Steve Zakawani jump in for their input on the legend that is and has become Raul. Just an absolute beast. Today's game that you're going to be watching is Sounders against San Jose decision day, which was a massive day for the club. 2018 was a pretty crazy year, obviously, the way that it finished. You go back all the way to 2014, winning a Supporters Shield and Open Cup, and then losing in the playoffs, which was a really good team. And then 15 was another tough year in the playoffs. 16, you win. 17, you go back, you lose. 18, you finish the season so strong, ultimately lose to Portland. And then 19, you win a championship. So nothing that's new to this club. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Is that your man cave?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about this platform right here? It's pretty cool, huh?
My first time. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah. It's pretty good though. Oh,
my first time as well. It took me a little bit longer to get on. What's up, guys?
Yeah, it's great though. Yeah. Hey, reminding the fans, we can see all your comments. So make sure if you got any questions for these guys, Sounders, whatever the topic is, what we're doing, just let us know. First of all, what's up with you guys?
Keith?
Steve's always doing something fun and interesting. So
I'm not. I was following along your Bundesliga tweets.
Oh, this morning, yeah.
Yeah.
How good was it to wake up to football today?
Yeah, that was good. I didn't think it was gonna be anything close to before. Obviously, the fans missing, but actually, it was pretty good, to be honest.
I feel like you guys wouldn't be used to it, but for me, that was my career, playing in front of empty stadium. So it was just normal for me.
This is unprecedented time, but I think we're all stoked to have some soccer in some way, right? Which is incredible. It just gives you that feeling that you're involved in something bigger, rather than, we're watching all these replays, which are great, but just having that live soccer is something we're so looking forward to, and hopefully we get to see some of it soon. I was reminding the fans tonight is the Sounders against San Jose decision day game in 2018. Raul scores 2 goals. We just need to open this up by talking about Raul and what he's been for the club. So I kind of did some digging. Oba, 40 goals in 72 games. Raul is 22 in 38, I believe. Clint was 47 in 115, and Montero 25 in 63. So his strike rate, it's there, and he's done this the past 5 or 6 years of his career. He's almost at that exact same strike rate. It's pretty incredible, and I definitely didn't expect it. But where does he rank with those numbers with those other guys?
If he stays here 3-4 more years, he's gonna break the goal scoring record.
Yeah.
That's without question. He will leave here with the best strike rate, because that's what he is. And he's here at a time where he's more advanced than Montero when Montero was here. Montero was that kind of player where in the box they're going to find their way. Raul's more advanced than that. So if he stays here, without question, he'll end up being the all-time leading goal scorer. Now, does that make him the best forward we have? For me, the list is too high. We've had some unbelievable strikers, just unbelievable. But for what he does, I think there's no one better. Just any sniff around the 18-yard box. The best example of it was the playoffs, LAFC. I mean, he was so clinical on every counter attack that he had 3 chances, and you felt every time he's going to shoot, he's going to score. So I'll give him that. And Clint was the same. Oba not so much. Freddie a little bit, where they live so much for goals. It's in their brain where if they don't score, they're happy we won, but it's going to bother them. Where I think Oba was didn't mind combining, giving assists and stuff. Raul and Clint are just killers. So he's similar, but stays it long enough, best strike rate, and he'll break the record for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. I think he's right up there in terms of natural finishers, like instinctive finishers. But comparing him to Oba for me he just does so much more to the game. So when you do numbers for numbers, I agree with Steve. I think in the end he'll score more goals if he stays, for a long period of time. But I think Oba was more of the link player. He could drop in. He could commit defenders. Raul's just a killer inside the penalty area. I will say as well, Steve, I think we talked about it straight away when he came in, his work rate and commitment to the cause as well. A DP, a striker who gets goals, you automatically think, well, they're not going to do much work-wise. He does as well. So I think he belongs in the names that you mentioned. And I think for me, that's as good as you can get in terms of the players you've already talked about.
But isn't it funny how you can talk about numbers? And the Sounders, we base everything on championships, right? Yeah. Which is ultimately the highest standard. And you would think that now we think about a striker and the one who scores the most goals is the best striker. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just he's here at an earlier point in his career, right? He's only 29 years old, which is different. So do you think he stays, or where does he go from here? Do you think he can make the leap to Europe, or it's too late probably? Or does he go back to Mexico and try over again? But here he's living like a king and he's scoring at the same rate.
I think he was a killer in Mexico as well. So I think he's happy here. He's found a home. MLS is going to continue to, MLS and Liga MX are going to be there or thereabouts in terms of being committed to being partners moving forward as well. So I think he's found a home. I think for him it's a good place to be. He can continue to get better here, but yeah, I think for him it's the best case scenario, and for the Sounders as well to have him a goal scorer. Look throughout his career, he's always scored goals wherever he's gone. I think it's a win-win for club and player.
It's between here and Europe. I don't think Mexico. I think he prefers living here. I think he likes playing for the Sounders. He's mysterious because we don't know much about him, and he's been here a while. But I don't think a lot is known about Raul or what his motivations are, apart from wanting to score goals. I've always said players like that, I want to see them in Europe. So when Almiron went to Newcastle, I thought that was good because I like to see where they're at. He'll be the same. He does find the right team, whether it's Spain or England, the right setup, the right system, those sort of things. But I would be shocked if he doesn't have the motivation to go to the highest level. That would really, really shock me. So I think if he stays here, fingers crossed, great for the Sounders. But for his own personal ambition, 2 more years, maybe 3 more years, another championship, and he goes, I think he goes with everyone's blessing.
Brad, can I ask you, though, because you've been a defender, did you talk to Chad about when he signed and, hey, what's this new forward like? What do you think of him? I mean, as defenders, what do you see in his game that makes him kind of unique and makes him an elite striker in this league?
It's really hard to pinpoint one thing because when you ask the guys about him in training, they'll say that he's shifty, he's deadly, but also he kind of fades in and out a little bit in training. He doesn't turn it on until he hits games, which to me is a true striker, right? They know how to switch it on. Even a veteran, they know when to switch it on. So, for me, I look at it. He's not that fast. He's not a speed killer. He's skillful with the ball, but he doesn't do a ton of moves. When he shoots to score, and he just scores in so many different ways. That's the most difficult thing. But you watch the game tonight, and it's that the first goal in that run and the ball from Christian where he just kind of sneaks in behind 2 defenders. Yeah. And every defender when he scores is kind of looking around like, oh, where'd he come from? And I think that is what makes him a difficult player to mark. Guys, if my internet dies, you're going to have to take over. So I'm just giving you guys.
It's all on you, Steve.
That's all good.
So everyone in the comments is kind of talking about football this morning. They're loving the podcast. What else is going on with you guys? Anything new?
Keith, I want to hear you, because you spoke a lot about this, and I don't know much about it, but the new youth soccer kind of initiative that MLS has taken over, because I know the league made a big announcement about it, and it sounds like most are happy. But what's the short version of it? What's actually happening?
I mean, look, US Soccer Development Academy was trying to bring everybody together, and I think MLS is just trying to take over. For me, it's more natural for clubs to be in charge than a federation. So it's about trying to get the best players in the best leagues playing against each other. And, some people, there's always going to be negatives, right? They point out the map and they go, well, this state doesn't have any teams, and it's not feasible to have one team in Idaho or one team, and you just can't do that much travel. But what they've done is the hot spots, the hot areas are going to have a lot of competition, and they're going to bring the top young players together. There's going to be competition against Liga MX youth academies as well. So, look, every time they change something, you go in with the idea that it's going to be the right move. I really do think MLS is moving in the right direction, and they're the right people to take over this right now for me.
It's an interesting time. If they can model European style a little bit, but obviously our country is so big, it's only going to benefit. Right?
Yeah.
You just have to be competitive.
Yeah.
Some people, they throw you back at, well, the Premier League model. First of all, you have to spend at least 10 million to be in Category 1 Premier League Academy. 2, there's 15 academies within, stone's throw distance from where Steve grew up. So it's like you keep playing, you don't have to travel, all that. And here it's massive. So you have to pick the hot spots, the areas, and get as many teams there as possible. So I think
I think the thing people don't realize, I don't know how it is now. When I was growing up, England's much smaller than here, but it was still regionalized. Like we never played like Manchester United, Liverpool, Newcastle, like on a weekly basis. Like that was at massive tournaments. Our weekly games when I played for Arsenal was Fulham, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Chelsea, Wimbledon, Charlton, the teams around you, because even then they didn't want to travel 3 or 4 hours up north every weekend. So it makes, and this country is way bigger. So it makes sense that you want to regionalize it and you want to focus on Washington, on California, on some of these spots. But I do always wonder though what that means, which I don't have a dog in this fight, but what that means for college, because every time I think college soccer is done on the way out, someone emerges who went to college and did well, or there's this you get the Jordan Morris and I forget the other guy's name at Salt Lake who played at the same time for Stanford, but
Corey Bird.
Exactly, you get a couple of those. So it's like you still are producing players at some level. So I don't know how this affects college, but we'll see, I guess, going forward.
It's, for me, I remember my club playing a bunch of small teams in Arizona, 6 or 7, but you constantly played them, and then you went to a couple tournaments out of state. It definitely wasn't as expensive. I think it's still a massive cost, right? I think these guys are paying like $500 a month or something, and then you got to pay for your travel and everything else. Is that what it wasn't like that in England, was it?
I wanted to have kids before I realized how expensive sports was. And I'm getting a dog.
No, yeah. In England, you don't pay. I mean, someone has to pay, and it's the FA and the clubs. You don't pay in England. Like my Sunday league football team, my amateur team, you didn't pay. We never paid. And for sure, at the academy, Arsenal paid us our expenses. So if you were coming from, they would figure out your mileage. They'd reimburse your parents for driving. People like me that took the tube, they'd reimburse my tube ticket. So they were reimbursing our travel. And obviously that's Arsenal. But club football is not it's not a paying thing. You don't pay to put that, especially a lot. At really bad clubs, you may pay £30, which for easy maths is like $45, and it's to cover the bare minimum and maybe the referees or something like for the season. But no, the cost is not.
You guys both came from college soccer. For me, I've always said Jeremy Gunn is a friend of mine who coaches at Stanford. Wherever you are, it's the coach and it's the players that create the platform to be able to build players and have them come through. So if you're in an elite league but your coach isn't good and practices aren't good, you're not going to develop. But if you're in college and you have a good coach and good teammates, you're going to develop. So it's still on you as a player and it's still on you as a coach. And that's why I think, there's some great coaches in college. There's some great setups. They just need to loosen those rules on them a little bit and let them have the players a little bit more. And then I think we're leveling the playing field for them.
Yeah, this one doesn't make sense to me why that season is so short. When you play club soccer and you go to college, you don't know any different, right? And maybe guys and teams do now because they see what a professional environment looks like. Because MLS has gotten bigger, but I thought it was great, right? I go and I play. I get a scholarship to play for 3 seasons, and then I get to hang out at the beach in Newport for the summer. And
what was the beach like in Akron, Steve?
we didn't have beaches, but we had LeBron James. So
that's true.
That's true. Okay, let's talk about this Sounders team of 2018. Steve and Keith, also, every time we talk, we tend to like reminisce about these Sounders teams that were so good. 2014, 2015 was good as well. 16 you win, 17 you go to the championship. 18 now is we don't talk about 18 that much, but here's a little stat: 14-2-1 to end the season, a 9-match win streak, and a 5-match win streak, and then you lose to Portland of all teams in Seattle in penalties. What could have been for that team? That's the year that Jordan tore his ACL, correct?
Yeah. Christian and Chad got injured as well.
So, like, what could have been for that team? We don't talk about that team at all, Steve. We haven't touched on it.
No, I think that team is not spoken about because the first half, maybe the first 2/3 of the season was so bad. Like, it was, I mean, really bad. That run you said, 14-2-1, it did a lot to save a really bad season. And then after that amazing run, to lose in that way to Portland, it kind of just ended. It was so sudden. I think that team's forgotten in that sense. But in that 14-2-1 run and the game they'll see tonight, some of the football they played, I mean, it was unbelievable. I think you had Raul in that run, exceptional. Nico at his very best. Christian, that's when I think he really came into his own and was firing on all cylinders. Defensively, the team was strong. But the first 2/3 of the season, it was perplexing why the team was doing so poorly. Like, it was historically bad. And then suddenly you become the best second half team of all time in MLS history, especially at home, was phenomenal. You knew coming at home you're going to win 2-0, 3-0. You knew. But because of the start of the season and because kind of just limped out of the playoffs so easily, I think it's not going to get the credit it deserves because there's been other lesser teams, but they were more consistent and actually made a run in the playoffs. That's why I would think that we'll remember moments, but as a collective, it ultimately fell short.
Yeah, for me, it's a shame that it did because in my short time at the club, I thought it was the best spell put together of games in a row, that the team were just clicking. And I think there was an early game at Columbus, Steve, where we kind of met afterwards and we'd lost pretty badly. And we went, I don't know if we can do it this year. We can normally go on a run. I don't know. And then I remember like 3 or 4 games left. And Steve's he's a student of the game. He can be a critic. And he was like, this is as good as I've seen us play. I mean, this team can win it all. But it does. It hinges on little things. And I really believe Christian doesn't go down, Chad doesn't go down. And you're talking about, you go to Atlanta, which is still going to be difficult to win there. But I think it's a team that can go all the way and lift the championship as well. Injuries change things. And unfortunately, because you win championships either side, it's going to be forgotten. But when you take it game by game, that run of 14 games, 16 games, whatever it was absolutely sensational.
Yeah, that was the year that I was in Kansas City, and I remember getting there. And obviously, you watch every single game as a player, right? And then you talk to players, and you're thinking in your head. I talked to Chad a lot, and I'm like, Chad, what is going on there in the beginning of the season? Like, he was like, I don't know what's going on. When you talk to guys in the Kansas City locker room, it's like, this is normal for you guys in Seattle.
Yeah.
What you do and what the league and other players around the league have come to expect from this team is that it really turned it on at the end. But you imagine these 16 finals, 17, possibly 18, and then a 19 in the final. You're talking about like crazy, and they're all what ifs, but it's fun to like think about.
Yeah, sure,
which is always a good time. So that run was ridiculous, and to watch it from far away and watch that result was heartbreaking to say the least. Okay, best partner of the ones I mentioned earlier. For this question came in from Chris. He said, "Do you think Clint and Raul would have meshed together?" But let's expand it. Best partner between Freddie, Clint, and Oba for Raul.
Oof, go on, Keith.
I will go Oba just because I think Oba can play off anybody. You mentioned his combination plays. I think he's just that. He's just such a rounded footballer, such a clever player. I think you could say the same about Clint in that role, but Clint's a little bit more alpha inside the penalty area as well. I think Oba can play the link man and still be as effective in terms of goal scoring and setting up chances. So I would say for me, if you name anybody out of that group, Oba would be the best partner for them, and I would say the same for Raul.
Yeah, my first thought goes to, the guys you just named, who's the best player? And it's Oba. And for me, it wasn't close. I've always said, when I think of all the great players this club has had, who's the best player? And it is Oba, because I would go to the stadium, even as an analyst, and watch him, and my jaw would drop some of the things he would do. Like, he would juggle the ball over the goalkeeper to himself and then score. Like, things like you don't see every week, and he was special. So And now thinking of practically, Oba and Raul up top, you still have the threat of someone running in behind. You always need it. I think him and Clint wants to come underneath. Raul doesn't have that in-behind threat. He's good in the box, but Oba has too many weapons. He would free up Raul a lot. I think they would love to combine with each other, and then you start throwing Nico in there. It gets exciting. So I think it has to be Oba. But in this conversation, and I was going to say this earlier until a good friend of ours, Ryan Shaber, also texted me and said, but I don't want to forget Eddie Johnson, because Eddie, for me, for the Sounders, these 2 years was exceptional. And he's in my top 3 or 4 of the strikers we've had, because he had 2 years where he was exceptional. So he's in that conversation as well. But ultimately, a partner for Raul to bring back for this team, any player in their prime, it would be Oba.
But yeah, I go back and forth, because when I watch lately, we've been watching classics, and Oba's goals come a lot from Clint.
Yeah.
And so,
the link up between those two is
between those two. So, and Raul is more similar to Oba for me. And so I think maybe Clint might be a better. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's fun to think about it.
Yeah.
Came from him. So I just looked up Eddie's stats. 23 goals in 49 games. So he's right there also.
Yeah.
I feel Eddie is like the most unlucky striker in MLS. And I can understand sometimes he'll get online and he'll feel underappreciated. And I would too. Because I think he's played well in the middle of contracts. And then when it comes down to the end, he maybe hasn't got rewarded wherever he's gone. And that's difficult as a player. You want to feel the love, particularly in that position he plays. And you just mentioned the numbers. So maybe not underappreciated by his teammates or fans, but sometimes maybe when you look back, and even now you see in the league some players' contracts and you're like, man, Eddie was a player, man. Eddie had a little bit of everything as well to his game.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so where do the Sounders go from here this season? A lot of developments the last week or two. Thoughts, rumors about a tournament.
Disney World, let's do it.
No, I think the Bundesliga coming back is giving everyone hope, because you're kind of watching to see, it can work if those certain protocols are in place. I mean, I would love to see a season. I'm not optimistic that we see anything close to what we saw before, where you're having these packed stadiums all over the country. But I think you now have the blueprint for, if you want to do this, here's how. Germany has shown you. So I think there's enough savvy people working for MLS and working at these clubs that can figure that out. And both
of you guys, if you're players now and they say we're going to Orlando, are you guys, yep, let's do it? Or
I would go.
Yeah,
I'm going.
Yeah, because
I don't have kids. I don't have a pregnant wife. Though. I'm here. Right? My wife works here. It's easy for me to go.
Sure. Yeah.
You could understand.
I would just go. It's better than the alternative. You're sitting at home doing Zoom workout sessions, or do you want to go and play football in Florida for a couple months? I'm gonna go. But so I think the hope is there now for us. And if the season comes back, I think it'll be fun to have an asterisk next to it, and everyone's gonna know it wasn't the 34-game regular season plus playoffs, but who's the best of the best? Have a round robin tournament style, all the teams down there, last man standing, something like that. Make it fun. I think they'll pull it off, hopefully. And so seeing Germany today, I think it's giving me more hope that in the next few weeks, we're going to start moving towards that direction as well.
Well, that's what I've heard today. I spoke with someone, they said MLS are really pushing. And I had someone say to me, well, it's not real soccer. I'm like, well, this isn't real life. If we want to do anything, it's going to be different. I'm wearing a mask to go to shop once a week. So it's the new normal. And, I miss MLS. I miss our games. I'm guessing Smets and the guys miss being around each other. And, that's the most important thing, getting the players back together. If they're comfortable with it, of course I want it to happen. And I'll be just as excited to watch it. And hopefully we get back to normal soon. But until then, I'm more than happy to watch the tournament in Orlando take place.
Have you guys thought about what that tournament looks like? If it's a true tournament, then some teams aren't going to play as much as others.
I think they're going to do so. Everybody plays, but they're going to do it like you go to one side of the bracket if you win, you go to the other side if you lose. So it has to be equal amount of games, because it is going to be added to your total of points at the end of the season. I would imagine they would still keep the rivalry games back, because if by the end of the season, hopefully, we can get in the stadiums and we can have fans, wouldn't it be great to, towards the end of the season, have the biggest rivalry in MLS, the Sounders against the Timbers again? That would be incredible. So I'd imagine we'd see teams out of region more so than we would see teams in region.
Yeah, just to kind of pump that one up, right? Yeah, I'd be interested. What about from a broadcasting standpoint? Have you guys thought about that and kind of what that looks like for for you guys?
Yeah, I wonder, Keith, how was it done? Do you know how it was done locally in Germany? Did they have commentators at the game and stuff?
No, so the commentators were in London in IMG studios, from what I'm told. BT Sport had set up Ian Darke at home, so he commentated from home in England. So I think, I think that's going to be the new norm. You know, it's like, honey, breakfast is almost ready. Yeah, let me finish this game. So I would imagine we will be doing it from Seattle with the feed being sent back to us. And you want to be there, but at the same time, you'll take that over nothing. But yeah, I don't envision them saying, hey, because if we're there, so many other broadcasts, and then where does it stop? The numbers have to be kept, you know, pretty much to a minimum, and then we'll deal with it from there. But yeah, I would imagine off a monitor, and
don't
mind that at all. And well, I was going to also add with the tournament idea, I think this is a chance for MLS to move towards something that I've said a while ago, that the playoffs as they've done it has improved with the one-off games, not the two legs and all of that. But once you get to the semi-final, I think they should reseed. I think you should reseed because I wanted to see one day a Seattle versus Portland MLS Cup final. Sure. Like, let's open up. So I think that's an idea now. The final 4 teams, can you reseed and just play? So that's something maybe you can try this year.
Yeah, that'll be interesting if they kind of take that concept into this little tournament, and if there's a couple rivals, they can kind of shift and make the games more intense, right? Especially in this setting, because ultimately the intensity is going to be lost no matter which way. Although, you know, you saw guys celebrating today in the league, but you can tell they're just kind of having a rebout a little bit, and when they celebrate and they go after the fans, just an interesting situation. But just to add a little bit more spice to it would be obviously super beneficial. All right, we got a couple minutes left, but as we kind of close, things that you remember from that 2018 season, some final thoughts. Obviously losing Jordan, but, you know, just kind of how we finished, I guess.
I mean, for me, it was the away form. When we went away from home, it was like, because every year you look in MLS and every top team is still only about 500 away from home. I think we won 5, 6, maybe 7 in a row on our travels. And it was just, it didn't matter who we played. They came forward, we hit them on the counter. Other games, we would dominate possession. So we just did it in so many different ways. And it was just, again, it was me saying, Smets is something special, because you're like, he comes in, wins the cup. You go find out, how's he going to cope when we have a real difficult issue? And every morning we see him, he's with his coffee. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And he was right. So for me, it was that away form, those away games in the hotel, seeing him and kind of thinking, man, he knew what he was doing.
For me, it's Nico. Believe it or not, there was a lot of critics of Nico that year, and I couldn't believe it because he came at the end of 2016, was on fire, was good for 2017, but people were expecting miracles every game, and it's not possible to do that every game. But I realized during that run, for me, and I've said this consistently now, that he was the best 10 in the league because he's the most unique. So it brought me to understand the value of Nico and just at his best how good he was. And I thought he was a catalyst for a lot of that run. And even though he wasn't getting the credit he maybe got in 2016, because we were used to it at this point.
Yeah, I think we've been jaded by Nico. He's been so good since he came in. And let's just talk about Nico real fast and where he goes from here. Does he stay here or does he go?
If I'm him, I stay. I stay here and become the biggest club legend and have my statue outside Central Link one day, because he's by far the best player on the team. By far. Nico he
needs a team built around him, if that makes sense, because he likes to float and roll. And I think
he's not going to find this stuff anywhere else.
Yeah, like somewhere where I actually was there, because he floats so much, they're a little bit more structured. For me, he's going to be a star. If he stays here 3-4 more years, he'll go down as one of the greatest ever Sounders for sure.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So that's all our time. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is Sounders against San Jose. Decision day. Raul scores 2 goals. I want to plug the shirt too. Make sure you guys check out the shirt. It's got all of our homies on it. All the proceeds are going to the Sounders COVID Relief Fund. Check out the links on social media and on the website, and enjoy the game tonight. See you guys.
All right, boss. Enjoy, guys.
All right, guys.
Sounders not at their best, but they've taken the lead late. What an incredible day of MLS action.